The Cincinnati Reds fall flat in the finale. They don't secure the sweep, but we're on to San Diego. We'll tell you why the Reds can do well against the Padres. All that on today's Locked On Reds.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Reds. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team each and every day. My name's Stephen Offenbaker. Tim Daniel joins us again from the postcast with Jeff vacationing on a beach somewhere on the East Coast. Tim, happy to have you here. On today's show, we are going to be talking about this Reds letdown that took place. You and I have been covering the Reds for a long, long time in podcast form. We love talking about baseball. We love talking about the Reds when they win. And we still love talking about them when they lose, just not as much. We're going to talk about that finale against the Yankees. We're also going to dig in a little bit later in the show and talk about the return / opportunity for rebound / opportunity for resurgence from Nick Martinez. He's going to be making his first start after a couple relief appearances after an outing where he got his teeth kicked in. So we're going to dig into that coming up in a little bit. And we're going to finish things up by talking about the rest of the rotation that will face the Padres, because the Reds are actually positioned pretty well pitching wise heading into this series to at least be on paper competitive 2 out of 3 games for sure. So we're going to get into all of that on today's podcast. Let's start with what went down at Great American Ballpark last night, Tim. It was definitely a letdown. I feel like they came out a little bit flat. I don't know if it struck you that way too. The energy of the night before was clearly not present in yesterday's game. Brady Singer, tried his best. He also became a victim of the outfield play a little bit. TJ Friedl, not a good night defensively. I understand the sun is there, but Judge had to play in the sun too. So, the sun was out there for both of those guys. And then he drops another one on what would have been a pretty good diving catch. So the defense was a large part of the problem in last night's loss.
Yeah, I think that was obviously the offense has 4 hits. So everyone's going to look to that. But yeah, defensively, there was a lot of things going on there. I know the one particular play that you specifically want to talk about, and we broke down quite a bit on the postcast as well between Ben Brown and myself. But yeah, the sun obviously can take you so far, and I get it. GABP, the way the sun comes in, you're in the outfield. That's hard. Can't fault you for that. But like you said, sun was the same for those guys as well, and they took care of business. Yeah, defensively it was frustrating for quite a few things there as well. Max Fried just being really good at throwing baseball is part of the place in that as well. The only guy who was able to get anything off him was Elly getting the 2 hits. I don't know, did Elly only have 1 hit off him? I know he had 2 hits for the game, but regardless. And you just kind of see the bottom half of the order where Tuesday night, the bottom half of the order carries them. Wednesday night, the bottom half of the order can't really get anything going. So there's just a lot of just kind of that inconsistencies we spoke about on yesterday's show, kind of showing their ugly head today.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the inconsistency with just one player. Let's stay with Elly De La Cruz for just a minute, because as valuable as he was offensively last night, 2 hits, he was the only multi-hit guy in the game. He also had a couple suspect plays in the field. And I want to talk specifically about the play at the plate that he's actually taking a little bit of heat for on the online comments and around Reds country. And this is going to shock you. I don't necessarily agree that Elly is the problem on that play. I know Ben touched on this a little bit. We've seen this twice now this year. I take you back to Matt McLain and Spencer Steer in an erroneous cut about a month or so ago. Matt McLain positioned himself for a throw to third base. Back is to the infield. Runner goes. Matt doesn't know. He turns around, looks for the runner, can't find him, sees him, throws. The throw's late to the plate. This is the same situation with Elly last night. His back was to the infield. He takes the throw. He turns. He looks to find the runner. He sees him. The throw is too late. In both situations, nobody else on the infield was talking. Everybody should have been yelling home And Barry Larkin touched on this on the broadcast last night too. Everybody should have been screaming. Elly should have been able to turn and fire. Nobody was talking to him. That's not Elly De La Cruz's fault. That's bad fundamentals. That's just bad baseball stuff that you're taught from day one of T-ball. You start calling out where the throw needs to go. I understand they're professional baseball players and they're making their money and they're doing their things. They're not too cool to call out where the ball needs to go. And that's the element that was missing on that play last night.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Obviously, you got to know, especially with a guy who has the arm, that if the guy's really going to take off on him, and it's Ben Rice, it's not like it's, someone who's got really good wheels. Not that Ben Rice doesn't have good wheels by any means, but something where if you do have those guys and you're saying like home, and you know that he's got the tendency to throw a ball 100 miles an hour, you have a good shot. If you just tell him where the ball's got to go, even if his back is against the plate, he has that capability to do that. So I'm with you. I don't feel like I blame him whatsoever for it. Should he have been a little bit more heads up there? Sure. But am I going to be like blaming him fully for that? No. I mean, like I said, his teammates got to make sure he knows too. And your back is to the infield. They got to be there saying like where the ball's got to go. Cause he's not a guy who's going to like not hear you and say like, what? So, like, we know he seems to have good communication with everybody out there. And you blame Matt, you talk about that. Like, if Santiago Espinal is supposed to be this guy that's like this otherworldly, like help you guys out, be this really like veteran defender, what is he doing there? Like, what is the conversation like? Isn't he kind of like, hey, I've got Rice on the bag here next to me, like let's just kind of keep the play going. He does nothing when Rice takes off. He's just kind of like,
yeah, that's where the deficiency was. He should have spoken up. He did not. And look, I don't want to feel like we're just coming down, from the highs of yesterday's win to the low lows of today's loss. They are improving. They are getting better. There's still encouraging things in this loss. Elly with 2 hits is one of them. Spencer Steer with another hit is one of them. There are things to look to as they continue to build. I am confident with them heading into this San Diego series that those guys are going to continue to hit. They're all on heaters right now. Matt McLain's in a little mini letdown off of the heater that he was on. I'm not worried. He's going to find the middle ground. He's going to get hot. He's going to fall off a little bit, but he's going to find the middle ground. So there's lots of things to be optimistic about. There's lots of things to be positive about. But if we're gonna call a player out and try to place the blame on him, I think you're right. It's not Elly where the comments are today coming after Elly. It's Santiago Espinal. That's the guy that should have been screaming the second that Rice rounded that back. Right, the very second. So we'll give credit where it's due, and we'll point the blame in the right place, and that's where I'm pointing the blame on this one. Overall, Tim, I'm a little disappointed that they came out flat. Third segment, if for the folks that hung around with us and the everydayers that were with us yesterday, know that I leaned in it hard.
You did,
and was ready for the sweep. I was excited.
I tried to bring you back in. I really tried to.
I was not having it. I was not having it, and ultimately you ended up being correct. I really am a little bit surprised at just how much of a letdown there was between yesterday's game, between the second game of the series and yesterday's game. There was a lot of drop off there, a lot of letdown. And that's one of the problems, I think, of having as young a team as the Reds are right now, is a little bit of that regulation and staying even keeled. I am 100% when we talked about Elly gets energized for these games and is up for these games, but everybody has to maintain their energy, and they can't mentally take a day off because they had a big win in extras the night before. And I think that's what happened.
I agree and disagree. And I do think you have a good valid point as far as, a lot of energy from the night before, a lot of momentum, a lot of just emotion in that game. But where I disagree in the sense that you're saying that they just can't take nights off, I don't necessarily think they intended to tonight. I mean, on Wednesday night, Max Fried's just really good at baseball. Max Fried's just really good at his job, and he was dominant. Sometimes, like, I'm with you. Yeah, I wanted to see them be more competitive, and I want to see them give themselves a better chance to win on Wednesday, but sometimes you just got to tip your cap to give the devil his due, and he was unbelievable, man. And, like, that's what he's done all year.
He also had a little bit of a more interesting strike zone than I think Brady Singer was getting. I just want to say, I mean, I'm not one to point at the umpires but I just want to say that I don't feel like that strike zone matched. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But sometimes you just got to tip your cap, man. Like, you knew the Yankees were going to be down long.
Right. Let's move off of this loss. We'll enjoy the fact that it was a series win against the New York Yankees, and now the Reds move on to the San Diego Padres. They've got Nick Martinez going for them in the first game of this series, Tim, and Nick Martinez is looking for a big rebound. We're going to talk about how we think he'll do coming up next. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top plus brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for the trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free TradeMaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the TradeMaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies in just a few clicks. Plus, use the promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Make sure you are subscribed. That way you don't miss any of the great Reds content we have got coming your way. Jeff Carr and myself here Monday through Friday on the Locked On Reds podcast. Tim Daniel each and every post game after the Reds play. You get the postcast with Tim. If you watched last night, you saw the little reunion. Our buddy Ben Brown was around. What a great dude. What a great show. Really enjoyed seeing Ben in the Locked On feed there, Tim. Really appreciate you bringing him along last night.
We should make it a habit, shouldn't we? We should really.
We should maybe make that a habit. Love having Ben around. All right, let's talk a little Nick Martinez, because when we last saw Nick Martinez as a starting pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds, it did not go so well at all. In fact, it went horrible. 2 2/3 innings. He allowed 7 earned runs and 3 home runs. It was not a good start for him against the Minnesota Twins. And then something interesting happened. The rotation completely unraveled. The bullpen pitched more innings than any bullpen should have to pitch. And here comes Nick Martinez, not once, but twice out of the bullpen for the Reds, to help cover some of those innings. He worked in the St. Louis series out of the bullpen,
2 innings,
pitched 2 innings, no hits, no runs, nice clean line, got the job done. And then he pitched out of the bullpen again a couple days later, 1 inning. So 3 innings of relief work for Nick Martinez in a short period of time. As it was explained by folks close to the team, they were considering this like his side work. It would have been his side session in between starts anyway. I'll buy that. So going into this next start now, I have a couple questions. Question 1, how altered was his routine? How much does he have in the tank for the start? Is he going to be able to come out and throw 100 pitches? Is he going to be able to cover 6 or 7 innings, depending on what's going on? Number 2, his last few starts, he's not been able to make it past the 6th inning. In fact, that's kind of the cap. I'm interested to see how he continues to develop through July, August, what's going to happen with him. I need to see a little bit more out of Nick Martinez is what I'm saying, because when Hunter Green comes back, when you start getting guys back, there may be a little competition for some starts here at this point. So I need good Nick Martinez. I would love it if Nick Martinez circa last year, August, September, would make an appearance right about now.
I would too. So I'm kind of was going through the matchups when you told me this was going to be a segment for us tonight, and I'm a little anxious about it, Steve. So just kind of listed a couple names here. Luis Arias, career 1750 OPS against Nick Martinez, 4 at bats. Probably not whatever. Small.
Not a big sample size.
Yeah, but then there's Xander Bogaerts, who in 13 at-bats against Nick Martinez has a 1.082 OPS. Manny Machado in 11 has a 1.091 OPS. Martin Maldonado has an 800, short amount of at-bats. Fernando Tatis Jr., you get the gist. These may be small sample sizes. There's a lot of bad small sample sizes in the favor of the batter versus Nick Martinez in this matchup. And it's a really good Padres lineup. It's a team who is kind of like the Reds, kind of in that area where their record's a little better. They're 44-36 going into that game. But they also have a tendency to kind of just like put a lot of runs on the board quickly. So I am nervous to see if Nick Martinez can bounce back from this. I hope he can. I think he can. I just would have rather it been like, maybe Monday in Boston and not against the really good Padres team when he's not able to find his stuff as he's starting of late. So I'm pretty nervous about it.
Yeah, the San Diego lineup's no joke. There are a lot of fun players, a lot of talented players in that lineup. And when you look at Nick Martinez and what the Reds are going to need from him, it's more than just him going out there and trying to hold down his rotation spot or trying to, do individual work. Really, Nick Martinez, what the Reds need from him is him to go 6 or 7 innings to help protect this bullpen. This bullpen needs all the help it can get right now. It needs some rest. It needs the ability for some guys to skip a couple days, I think, especially if they want these arms to still be available in August and September. There's a significant amount of overuse right now going on between the Reds bullpen and the amount of innings they have to cover.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I joke about it all the time about Tony Santillan. I don't think Tony Santillan's going to have an arm come August. I think it's going to be down below his, like around his knee is where like his shoulder's going to be at that point. But yeah, man, I mean, they need something. And those numbers I just listed off don't make you feel very confident about him in this start. But certainly he's a guy that, probably has been far better than we expected he would be as a pitcher in general in his tenure with the Reds. And obviously part of that is August and September of last year. But he has to go out there and deliver. I don't know if the Reds can afford for him to not. They certainly can't afford a 3-inning outing. They certainly can't afford anything like that. But Jeff made a really good point on Tuesday just about Nick Martinez as far as like, what if it is a 4-inning thing? Can they go by with that? I don't think they can right now.
No, I mean, what they'll do is they'll figure it out. They'll cover it. Probably you get Connor Phillips for a couple innings, no matter how he's throwing. You get Brent Suter for a couple innings, no matter how he's throwing. And you just tell them, guys, I'm sorry, you're going out there. You got to do it. Where it really comes into play is the next couple days after that, right?
Right.
In the starts from Abbott and Lodolo, you really need those guys to go deep. Abbott, good chance of that. Lodolo, you just don't know. You're not sure what you're going to get, and you need a fresh bullpen. At least the Lodolo and Martinez starts are split up. Abbott's in the middle of that. Lodolo's going in the 3rd game of this series. So at least it gives the bullpen some on paper hope of rest in the 2nd game, as far as hoping that Andrew Abbott gives you 6, 7 or more innings. I'm not thinking he's going to go out there and pitch another complete game shutout, but if he could give you 7 solid innings of work, that would go a long way in helping this bullpen be available for Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. And at this point, they're about to go on the road after that, Sunday's getaway day. They're going to need this bullpen to kind of have their chance to really rest up. And yeah, like you said, like Andrew Abbott, you can count on to at least give you a surefire outing. But Nick Lodolo's also got to make sure he gets in there as well.
Dylan Cease is going for the Padres in the 1st game of this series. So it's Martinez versus Cease. And I'm kind of interested to see what this Reds lineup does with Cease right now. I still like what we're seeing from Elly. I like what we're seeing from Spencer Steer. I think that Matt McLain is still going to have some more in the tank. Tyler Stevenson has had some good at-bats recently. You commented on this on yesterday's show with him drawing 3 walks the day before. He's seeing the ball well. He's seeing the zone well. I think the Reds can get at Dylan Cease. If they can knock him out early and get into the Padres bullpen and just keep doing their thing, I like their chances. I would love for them to be able to put some runs on the board early and take some of the pressure off of Nick Martinez.
Yeah, and it's really funny because what I just kind of talked about, there's all these extremely small sample sizes of guys facing Martinez that are playing for the Padres right now. Currently on the Major League roster for the Cincinnati Reds, only 3 guys have had at-bats against Dylan Cease. The good news in that is Gavin Lux and his 5 at-bats against him has done really well. 1.514 OPS. So maybe your FanDuel bet that day is a Gavin Lux two base day, maybe? I don't know.
I like how you work that in there, Timmy. I like it.
Yeah. I'm a company man.
Yes, you are. All right, listen. For the Reds to be successful in this series, we know that the stats tell us, except let's say for one time, the Reds need to win the 1st game of the series in order to get a series victory. So we need Nick Martinez to be good Nick Martinez. We want him to get out there. We want him to do well. Coming up, we're going to continue to break down some of these hot young Reds hitters and how we think they're going to continue to progress or not. We got that for you coming up next. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game with your friends while they're getting sunburned at the beach. It's easy to use. They have fast payouts, and it makes even regular season games feel like must-watch sporting events. Whether you're placing a same-game parlay, or you've bet on the money line, or you're watching your bet right into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like you're part of the action. If you're new to FanDuel, a new customer with a $5 winning bet right now is going to get $150 back in bonus bets if that first bet wins. That's right. A $5 bet wins. You're a new customer. You're going to get $150 in bonus bets back. Just open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. If you can't watch us here on YouTube, check us out in the audio feeds. We're seriously on pretty much every single podcasting app there is. You can take us to the gym. You can take us in the car. You can take us for a walk. Tim would love to go on a walk down by the river with you. Just subscribe in the audio feeds today. All right, Tim, we're going to throw out the rest of the rundown. I want to pivot off of what we were going to talk about and talk about something else that's going on in town this week that I meant to include and I didn't. There are many members, or at least most of the surviving members of the Big Red Machine are in Cincinnati this week. Marty Brenneman was prowling around the ballpark yesterday. I saw on his wife's social media feeds, they were in the stands and around the stadium and doing things. And, you know, it's just a reminder with the Reds having lost Joe Morgan already, with Pete Rose gone this year. You look at the rest of the remaining great eight and their ages, they're all getting up there in years. This may be this week of celebration of the Big Red Machine may be one of the last big celebrations and opportunities to really honor this team as those legends, you know, begin to pass away.
Yeah, man, it's hard because, you know, for me, obviously being in my 30s, that was like my dad's generation. I lost my dad a couple years ago, and my dad talked about the Red Machine like it was 8 Paul Bunyan's. Like that's how he talked about the Great Eight.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was larger than life. Everyone was like an absolute legend, and like that's that generation. And you know, for me, like you love hearing that stuff. It's why you become a Reds fan. That group basically made generations of Reds fans, even if they weren't able to be in situations like I am or like you are, where like we weren't alive when they were doing their thing. And, you know, we all had the VHS tapes of the 75 World Series. That's how I became an immense Joe Morgan fan. Joe Morgan to me is like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for basketball. We're like, no, they didn't play when I wasn't born yet when they were playing, but I know enough about them and I've seen enough footage on them to know that they were awesome at what they do. And they're some of my favorite athletes ever. So yeah, it's going to be a little bittersweet to celebrate these guys and not have Joe and Pete and those guys there. Well, I'll leave the Pete thing for you, obviously. But obviously you want to, you know, pay your respects to the team that basically made what Reds baseball is for like this city. And you certainly respect what they did.
You know, even the having Marty back around, you know, I know there towards the end, he was, you know, very much get off my lawn. And those were some bad baseball teams that he had to cover towards the end. So I would be cranky also. And outside of how I think he was a little unfair to Joey Votto at times, he is a legend and he is the voice of my summers growing up. He's the voice of my childhood.
Same.
Right? So it was great to see him around the stadium and around and still, you know, out there looking healthy, looking well, doing things with team. I was glad to see that. You talk about Joe Morgan. I got to meet Joe Morgan in 2015 at the All-Star game. I happened to run into him at the Hall of Fame, and he was very much on a mission to get where he was supposed to be going. And I asked him if he would stop for a picture. And he's like, I'm very late. And he was like, he wasn't going to stop. And then when he got just about even with me, he stops and goes, oh, okay. Throws a big cheesy grin on his face, takes the picture, and then he takes off again like a jet. He just really didn't want to leave me hanging. And he's stopped for some other people too. Just a really tremendously nice guy. He was a big loss. Johnny Bench being around baseball, I hope they continue that. I don't know if you know this or not, but he's been making some appearances in Bristol.
Mhm.
He's been doing some things with NASCAR. So Auntie Darlene is super hopeful
Oh
that when
boy.
we're down there at Bristol for the Reds Braves game that Johnny's going to be around. She did get to meet him at the AC Hotel. We actually all rode an elevator together, and he did stop for a picture with Auntie Darlene. Not for anybody else, but just for Auntie Darlene. So
Shout out Auntie
she did-
Darlene.
yeah, right. She did get to meet
We're gonna have a
her
lockdown
favorite
party in
player.
Bristol.
I think that's the way that's going to go down, folks. If you're going to be in Bristol, we're going to be in Bristol. So we're looking for an exciting time down there at the racetrack. I'm looking forward to that game,
Me
Tim.
too.
I'm looking forward to, baseball celebrating itself on a national stage and the Reds being part of that. I was really bummed when they didn't get the first Field of Dreams game. They got the second one, but I really wish they had been in the first one when it was new and super hyped up and all the things. I wanted the Reds in that game. This is the first Speedway game. I don't know what they have in store for us as fans in this game, but there's going to be a lot of people there. The Reds are going to be at the center of it, and I'm really excited about that. And I hope there are some Big Red Machine tie-ins as well in that game. I'm pretty sure Johnny Bench will be there. I hope they bring in some of the other guys and have them. This is going to be the first Major League Baseball game played in the state of Tennessee. So I hope they kind of go all out and bring in the legends, because Tennessee is considered Reds country. Chattanooga, the AA team, is down there. I hope the Reds go big in celebrating the history of baseball and the history of Cincinnati in that game.
Yeah, I'm sure they will, man. I think this is gonna be a really fun event. I know there's exclusive jerseys that are gonna wear for that game. I think the Braves are too, but I know the Reds, like, they showed a little bit during the series in Atlanta during Reds Live, but they didn't get enough of a glimpse to see what they're really going to look like. But I think it's going to be a really neat event. I'm really looking forward to it. Like you said, to be around our everydayers is always a joy. It's something we all definitely appreciate, you, Jeff, and myself. So to just have a big get together with our family that are with us every single day talking baseball, I can't wait. It's going to be a great time. And Chad Dotson's going to be there too.
And Chad Dotson's going to be there too. We're going to get to see him in his ridiculous accent live and in person right there in Tennessee. And that is where we are going to wrap it up for today. Thanks, as always, for making Locked On Reds your first listen each and every day. Make sure you're checking out Tim on the Reds postcast after each and every Reds game, live here in the YouTube feed and available a little bit later in the audio feed. Until we see you next time, we're going to be gathering up the news, the notes, the reports, and the information. We're going to bring it all right back here to keep you locked on Reds every single day.